everybody's favorite day.
Thank you.
It's numbers. It has to be good.
Oh, is there any doubt? It's just like Bluebell ice cream.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's their slogan?
If it's Bluebell, it's
It's
gotta
good,
be good.
yeah.
Yeah,
If it's numbers, it's gotta be good.
exactly.
Unless it's not.
All right, 7 o'clock. Roll call to order. All members present except for Mr. Payne. The public participation, Kelly Buck. What you got for us today?
Hey, good evening, guys. I'm just going to make a statement. I came to you last year with a concern, and it's come to my knowledge that your speaker is the superintendent. Last year when I came to you with the concern was the superintendent. So moving forward, when a citizen comes to you with a concern about maybe a position, don't send that position to give the answers. If the concerned citizen is not liking the answers that's coming from that person. That's really all I got. Today I had a conversation with the superintendent and it cleared up a lot about this process, what I tried to accomplish. You know, that's really it. I never, ever came to you guys as angry like your mascot, rolling up my sleeve, bulging my muscles, gritting my teeth. No, I came to you with concern, and that's all. It was the answers that I got from that position that did not make any sense. That's why I kept coming to you. That's all I got. Moving forward, just please address any concerns. Thank you guys. Appreciate you all.
C, honors recognitions.
Well, we do need to recognize that our STEM team made it to state. Good job for them. We've talked to both their coaches. They go here next couple of weeks, and they're really excited. Those kids have worked really hard, and if you ever get a chance to see the robot fighting ring over at the upper elementary, it is quite something. And did we have any others?
Ethan McLean, Ms. Magnus, would you like to mention?
Yeah, we recognized him last semester, but Ethan McLean did make All-State and completed that. And there is a third round for junior high and high school. So when they made it last semester, we went this last month, and they get new music, and they had to sing that new music for the judges to secure their spot in the choir. So that was Ethan McLean is our high schooler. Shiloh Willingham is also in that, Giselle Ponce, and then for junior high kids it was Hannah Johnson and Braylon Schroeder. So they learned that new music over Christmas break and were able to sing it for the judges and secured their seat. For Ethan, it was over 1,700 kids auditioned to be in the choir, 206 made the choir, and it was over 1,000 for the junior high, the OCDA one, and we had 4 people make it, 2 7th graders and 2 freshmen. And again, it's about 200 kids in that choir. So it's a huge honor to be out of all the kids in the state. So I'm very proud of them, very, very proud of them.
The principals recognize their teachers of the building teachers of the year. If you want to announce those to the board, we can talk about it more when we get to the other stuff, but I know the shorts here.
Sure. So for Gilmore, it was Mrs. Jaren Graham. And for Heritage, it was Miss Caitlin Woods.
For the Q, it was Miss Katie Buckner with grade science.
High school, it was Miss Jan Swart, this time.
For the junior high, it was Timmy Winans, ELA 8th grade.
And I'd like to tell you, if you get a chance when Miss Schwartz got those kids with those goggles on, that's quite the thing to watch. It is really entertaining, and she's really done a good job for us this year, and I really appreciate all the effort she's gone to.
That it? All right, we're gonna move down to item E. No, sorry. Item G, discussion possible action to approve Kingfisher Public Schools 2023-2024 financial audit as prepared by Britton, Kirkendall, and Miller.
Good evening. I am James Kirkendall with Britton, Kirkendall, and Miller. Appreciate the board having us back this year to again do your audit. We did finish it. Everything went well. The staff worked well with us, and we were able to finish it with no problems. You should have a copy of the report. Real quickly, I'll go over some stats with you. Schedule 1 is a summary of the combined balance sheet of all the activities of the school district. It shows there your gross assets, liabilities, and our ending fund balances. General operating account, our ending fund balance, you can see there is $3,359,000. Special revenues, that's a combination of the building fund, child nutrition fund, co-op fund, and the insurance fund. But those funds you can see are listed under equities. Building fund, $706,000. Child nutrition, $57,000. Co-op fund, $4,000, and the insurance fund, $11,456. The debt service fund, which is your sinking fund, has a balance in reserve, $1,754,000. Capital projects fund, there's still $1,070 in the capital projects funds that hasn't been spent yet. The fiduciary funds, that is our activity accounts, $659,488. And then the general long-term debt account, that's just a listing of our outstanding debt. You can see there the total is $17,085,000. Schedule 2 is a summary of those same funds. General fund, the total revenues, $16,690,000. That is actually about $2 million less than last year. The reason being, on our state source income, our gross production taxes had dropped from roughly $7.7 million the year before to $4.2 million. So we had a drop in our gross production taxes of $3.5 million for last year. So that accounts for the substantial drop in our revenues for the year. Our expenditures, $22,239,000. That is roughly $2.6 million more than the year before. So that we ended up spending $5.5 million more than what we took in for the current period. We had some encumbrances, funds that had been reserved for outstanding encumbrances that were not issued. So that adds back $636,000. So our net decrease in our fund balance was $4,912,000. That gives us our $3,359,000 for the year. Special revenues, I'll get to those separately here in a second. Sinking fund, we took in $1,007,000 in ad valorem taxes, paid off one bond payment of $1,640,000, interest on it of $16,000. So we actually increased our fund balance in the sinking fund by $45,000. The capital projects fund, we did have a bond proceeds of 3.2 million, and we spent 3.349 of that. We had some carryover from the previous year on a capital project. Schedule 3 just is a comparison of the budgeted figure to the actual figures. That's for the State Department to be able to see that we did not exceed our appropriations for the period, which we did not in any of the funds. And then now the special revenues, I'll get back to those. Those are on schedules 4 and 5. The building fund revenues of $727,000. That's from ad valorem taxes mainly. We spent $1,058,000, so we spent $331,000 more. Again, we had some encumbrances that were not used, so that added back. So we actually increased our fund balance in the building fund by $167,000. Child nutrition, $565,000 in revenues, $586,000 in expenditures, so we spent about $20,000 more than what we took in. The previous year, that was about $100,000 more, so we got it closer to breaking even. Co-op fund, took in $671, spent $659, so we increased our fund balance by $11,000. Insurance fund, that's just where we're getting insurance payments, and then we're turning around and using that to make repairs and such. We collected $56,000 and paid out $46,000 in that. So Schedule 7 is capital projects. That's the one where we took in $3.2 million on bonds, and then we spent $3,349,000. And that left $1,000 as our ending fund balance. Schedule 9 and 10 is your activity accounts. You can see there we started the year on the Schedule 10 was $657,000. We had collections of $801,000. Payments $817, so we have an ending fund balance of $659,000. So you have a substantial amount of revenues going through your activity accounts. And then Schedule 11 is just a schedule of the expenditures of the federal funds. That's a requirement. In y'all's case, you're what's considered a single audit because we expended over $750,000 of federal revenues. You can see there are total expenditures that are federal related of $2,408,000. So overall, everything was accounted for. We did have a couple of comments, not audit comments, but just what we consider management comments. That's in the separate letter that's attached, and it's just things that need to be strengthened as far as internal controls are concerned. One of them has to do with our federal programs, being sure that we get those recorded correctly, timely. Sometimes they get posted to the incorrect project, and they have to be reclassified later. Sometimes we've already turned in our OCAS report and we have to go back and fix those, but it's matching up our revenue and expenditures for the actual federal program that it came from. Second, we're still working on our technology and equipment, inventory tracking. Been working on that a while and continue to upgrade that, making sure that everything gets accounted for and is documented. Number 3 is sometimes at the end of the year we don't get invoices timely and they don't get paid out of the right year. And so we just have to make sure that all of our vendors are aware of getting us our invoices whenever they're due, so that we don't have to not pay them or pay them out of the wrong year, which we can't do. Number 4, 1099s, that's just a tax issue. We have to be sure that we document and file whenever we have vendors that we pay over $600 for the year, that we send them a 1099 at the end of the year. And then last, it's just a matter of recording. We didn't get some of our interest on our CDs recorded timely on our revenues. And so those are all just issues with internal control that we need to strengthen. We have the controls, we just need to strengthen them to make sure that nothing gets missed or not in the correct periods. And so the audit report, we feel like what you see here is an accurate description of your financial position as of June 30th of 24, and presented to you that way. Have any questions? I'll try and answer them.
And I did place in front of you what the response to the deficiencies were, so that you know that we are aware of what Mr. Cockendall is talking about, and we want to make sure that everybody is aware that we're going to follow those recommendations we're going to adhere to those as closely as we possibly can. And we really appreciate all the help, because that one deal on the OCAS report we actually fixed when you were doing the audit, because it was on it happened to be October 31st, and the OCAS report became permanent at 5 o'clock that day, and we happened to get it all fixed at 4:30 after they found that. So it really worked out well, but we appreciate having you as a resource and to watch our finances for us.
I make a motion, we approve item G.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
D, discussion and possible action of resignations. 1, Terry Payne, Kingfisher Board of Education, seat 1, action to accept and declare Board of Education seat number 1 vacant. 2, Suzanne Baumhoff, Superintendent Secretary, action to accept and post position. And 3, Bobby Wilkinson, Maintenance, action to accept and post position.
I propose these as
I'll make a motion to accept item D.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. E, discussion, possible action on the minutes of the January 6, 2025 regular board meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 6th, 2025 board meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. F, discussion, possible action on the following. 1, general fund encumbrances, accounts payable, 1610 to 1639. Payroll, 70440 to 70471. Co-op fund encumbrances, accounts payable, 1216 to 1218. Building fund encumbrances, accounts payable, 2139. Child nutrition fund encumbrances, accounts payable, 2214 to 2215. Change order listings in general co-op building and child nutrition funds. 6, the treasurer's report, and 7, the activity fund custodian report.
Okay, as we go down through this, Dawn has really done a good job of making these pretty much self-explanatory. I would like to bring a couple of things to your attention. Encumbrance 1623, $34,000 to Cowboy Express Fuel LLC. That is a blanket purchase order. That's not, we didn't spend $34,000 at Cowboy Fuel. The AED supplies after the incident at Dover's basketball tournament, we went through and checked all the pads to make sure that they're current and they're good to go, and we check the adult pads and the child pads. And that's what this set of supplies is for, is to replace the pads that were out of date. And you have to make sure these are in date. I don't really think I want myself being shocked with something that's out of date. That might hurt. And ACS Arbitrage, we had to hire them on the bond issue in this particular building, because we've got to make sure all that's done correctly, because I can do math, but arbitrage, that's a different animal than what I'm used to doing. And I think these guys come highly recommended, and they're fairly local. On Johnson's of Kingfisher on 1632, that's Suburban 18. We replaced the tires and lined it. We're really having to take a look at some tires on different vehicles, because we're running into an issue with, we don't want to put anybody out on unsafe tires or a vehicle that's out of line. Moving along over to the encumbrance for board approval on 1148 Center for Education Law, the legal expense. That was the total legal expense that we had for the reduction in force, and of $2,423.23, which is much better than what we had been paying on legal fees. Down on oil changes for the Suburbans and other things, we've been using RJ Raymer and some other companies to try to cut our costs, because Premier is pretty expensive. We have to take him to RJ if we do have him do brakes or something like that, because he can't work on school property, but as long as we do that, it's legal. Going on over to that's page 9. No, we pretty much got it. Oh, on the lease payment on the turf, F&M Bank 2101 out of the building fund, that is interest only on that lease payment there to keep it current. We've been running a lot of things through the building fund, and we're going to talk about that here in a second in the Treasury report. All right, if you look back on the actual Treasurer's report, what you're seeing is that our balance as of 1/31 was $3,689,411.36. So we actually received more money today from the county, which puts that up about 2.4 million or 2.1 million more.
The general fund was 1.3.
Yeah, the general fund was 1.3, but our total cash.
2.6.
2.6, that's right. As we continue to look at, as we move through this, we're in a whole lot better shape after we got the revenue from the taxes that I sent you the picture on. That was a nice relief. And then if you look at your spreadsheets your stuff that I put right in front of you. If you look on the revenue trends, what we're seeing right now is our new revenue is $2,572,050.47 less than it was in FY24 right now. The reason for that is 2.1 million of it in revenue less is because of the change in millages. And then you also have the drop in ESSER, because we had expended all the ESSER funds and we don't have this sitting anywhere around. Gross production right now is running $1,029,733.76 less. If you look on the sheet, that purple column over on the far right will give you what our monthly was. This month we were actually up 45 $45,000, which is yahoo. I mean, that's a good day for us. Foundation aid is $954,431 less year to year. However, our allocation on state aid actually went up $198,000, which is even better. The primary driver in the lowered revenue is loss of millage and ad valorem and the lateness of the tax bills, because normally we would receive most of our tax bills by now, or the first half. They got a 30-day extension. That was partially on us. So we really can't complain too much, and things have kind of worked for us just a little bit there. Whenever you look at the comparison of revenues, one thing I do want to make sure is the biggest total difference in the collections is the balance forward. That is making a huge difference, because if you look, that piece of pie is 3/4 of the clock. The piece of pie we have now is half of it. The gross production under collection of $1,029,733.76 from last year is a further extension of the loss that we had from the year before. But we are starting to see signs of correction, and we're seeing prices start to go up. But we've always been a volume school. So it's all going to depend on what the volume does and whether the price is enough to be able to push the volume up. The ad valorem under collection is now showing a $2,549,000 gap to last year, but like I said, that's because there's a 30-day grace period. But I will say this, our next metric to watch is going to be the next net gross production, and we need to remember, things are starting to turn around and look up. This is a lot more positive than what I've been looking at over the past, the past month and 9 weeks. And it's really a nice relief to be able to do that. I know the ladies in the office are a whole lot happier dealing with me whenever it looks like this. Comparison of expenditures. If you look on this, I want to bring something to your attention. The FY25 expenditures right here in particular, note that's a little over 50% of the total curve. Whereas over here at the same time last year, the curve was somewhere 40%, 35%, whatever you want to call it. The service differences between this year and last year are rather dramatic, because you look at it, we have actually $1,711,534.55 less in services. That will move forward and progress forward as we move through the year. We've spent a lot less. We've spent $300,000 less in supplies, and I've got to give that credit to the teachers. I mean, they have really done a good job. One other thing I will tell you, as I was going through the budget, and this is probably where somebody's going to make fun of me, but it's okay. I can deal with it. I'm a big guy. Our substitute, our payments for substitute are down since the start of the year. We were projecting out to be somewhere close to $70,000 right now. We're running a little under $50,000. The teachers have really been sticking in and doing their job, and I really appreciate that. That is the best way we can do our job. But the other thing that is really neat is that right now we're running less in electricity than we were this time last year, by about $40,000. That means people are paying attention to whether the lights are on or the electricity, or you just don't have something work over at one of the buildings, and I guess it saves a little bit of money, but that's not preferable. Expenditure trends. I really want you to look at these in particular. I gave you this sheet, and this is particularly exciting because we're seeing our numbers start to come together. And whenever we do these projections, we actually do 3 different projections in the office. I do a projection Don does a projection, and I like Don's better than mine, to be honest. It's easier to read, but, because mine takes a big old spreadsheet to do. But what I want to point out to you, whenever I started with you, our total projected expenditures was $16,791,000. Now, we're sitting at $14,906,991. Whenever you look at Don's, that's $15,124,000. We're within $200,000 each other. We're narrowing that gap very closely, and what we really believe, that is the allowable expenditures we have in the budget that are placed in encumbrances. That doesn't mean we're going to spend that much, but we're really narrowing it down quickly, and that is with that hefty Jody Hall bill figured into it, because we went ahead and that was in the encumbrances tonight. And it's important that we realize that as we move forward, because what we've done is we think we're encumbered out to the end of the year. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I know exactly how much we're going to spend on salaries and burdens, because there's some distractors out there. The first one is, once you put a salary into the budget, we don't know exactly what's going to happen on the burdens, because if it's a tax-free deal, like where they're paying $2,000 for a medical card so that they don't have to pay money at the pharmacy, that comes out pre-tax. If they're holding out for a 403B, that comes out pre-tax. That changes the amount of tax that they're going to have. So we're going to have to wait until we get to the next budget cycle and make the next payment, which would be the 9th of February, to make sure that we understand what's going on with this, because we've got everybody paid out. Pretty much we have one employee we're still talking to about what they believe they were owed and what we believe they were owed. But on the other side of that, we've got everybody else paid out. We've got figured what theirs is, and theirs is in this budget. So whenever we do the next budget, when we do the next set of payroll, we'll be able to come in and say this is probably where we're going to be for the next 6 months. We believe we're probably sitting somewhere around $800,000 to $900,000 total in savings. And I know I talked a whole lot right there. That was a lot of words. Any questions?
You referenced a little bit, but when we were going through this on page 5, the 1101, you referenced the bill from Jody Hall. Can you just shed a little light on that? What about it?
Yes, we can. The light on that is that we had committed to buy some materials from them. This isn't for services, this is for materials that's already been delivered to Jody Hall, which we're going to have to take possession of, or they'll store until we figure out what we're going to do to Gilmore. They agreed to wait until January, whenever we saw what our state aid was going to be and what our ad valorem was going to look like, before we came up with a payment plan. What I've talked to them about is the possibility of doing this as 2 payments of $250,000. Is what I've done, because it is a little over $500,000, and we owe the money. There's no doubt about it, and we've got to be people of our word, or we're not doing our jobs correctly. Well, thank you for asking about that. I've neglected to bring that up. Anything else? And on activity funds, one last thing. We are pretty solid in our activity funds right now. I will tell you, Coach Blundell has been selling a lot of ice cream. And it has really paid off well for us. And the tournament, we're going to have a closer evaluation of where we are as far as on that athletic director's account after that. But we do know that we are carrying a lot through that concession stand, and that has been very, very helpful to us.
So they get them to move the ice cream machine like 3 years ago.
Well, yeah, and if we can just keep him from threatening to jump it up to $2, that would be even better.
So the expenditures, the total expenditures on John's sheet,
Yes,
that is a combination of what has already actually been paid as well as what is encumbered.
yes, sir. Yeah, where we're sitting on our actual expenditures to date is $9 million. The budget year last year wound up was at a little over $8,950,000. But with the changes that we've had in our personnel budget, we're really thinking that our budget is going to move more like similar to a 2022 budget than it did to the 2023 or 2024 budget, because we're going to see quite a bit of savings within that. And as we move backwards in that actual structure, that should be able to free up quite a bit of money for us going forward.
So the last question I have is, this sheet right here, is it ran prior to these being, or after? Is this subject to these changes being approved?
These are totally separate. What do you mean?
So the expenditures, right?
These are made with those expenditures in there.
With these, what we're talking about tonight?
Yes.
So if we go through with this, then that'll be the number.
Yes. And remember, that number is over the 14.23 million, but we also haven't moved up our federal programs yet, which has about $1.5 million to $1.8 million in it. And then we've over collected in some other areas that we haven't added into the actual,
So this is 15.12.
yes. Yeah, we're well under that.
Good. If you guys don't have anything, I'll make a motion to approve the financials.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. H, discussion and possible action on the 2025-2026 Kingfisher Public Schools District Calendar.
I'm going to ask that we wait to act on this till next month. I want to go visit with my teachers again. I had a few that seemed to think that we'd gone a little overboard on the days, and I want to visit with them and make sure. I'm going to start with the Excellence Committee, but I don't think being stiff-necked with our staff is the way to build a strong, solid group, and I don't want anybody feeling like something's being pushed down their throat.
I'm good with that.
We need a motion to table it, or is it?
Just no action.
No action. I, discussion possible action to approve an out-of-state trip for the track team to attend the meet in Wichita, Kansas on April 11th, 2025.
Yes, Coach Seifert came to me and wanted to be able to take the students up to Wichita. It'd be a day trip. They would not be spending the night. And they'll be competing up there at that track meet, which he says that he's had a lot of kids get offers for scholarships out of that particular track meet. So I told him I would bring it to you, and I thought you probably would approve.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. J, discussion possible action to approve fundraising and planning for Heritage Festival Contest in New Orleans, Louisiana for the vocal music program in April of 2026.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, it's a competition, Heritage Music Festival, and it's like the one we went to in Nashville. It's also an education opportunity for my kids. I'm in the beginning stages of planning it with World Strides It is an expensive trip, but they have financial assistance for students, which helped us a lot when we went to New York. And it will be like a first place. We'll compete in our class. And if we get first place again, then they'll invite us to Carnegie Hall again, which wouldn't be bad. But there's so many things to do there. I know one thing that I do want to do is the cooking class, so that we actually cook a Cajun meal and eat it. This is outside of our competition. And then there's the World War II Museum. I don't know if we can squeeze that in. If you've ever been there, it's an all-day event. If you haven't been, you should go, because I've been, and it's really good. And I'm going to look into the Jazz Museum. Planning with World Strides is easy, and they take care of everything. And I love the financial assistance part of it. The more we get to go, the cheaper the trip gets. I'm looking at trying to get enough to charter a bus, because taking the activity bus to Nashville was a little hard on my backside in that trip. That was a long trip in that bus. This one wouldn't be quite as far, so we could handle it if we had to do that, but that's basically it. So, and I've worked with them before, and they're just really easy to work with. So, if you have any questions. And that's tentative, so it's just.
So it looks like you need 30 or 25 kids to get to this price, right?
Right, with adults.
Okay,
So the adults would count for that.
okay.
When we're breaking that down.
Are they doing fundraisers? Or?
Yeah, we will have fundraisers. The Boosters is already planning some. We raised a lot of money with the chocolates this year, more than usual. We sold more than before, and then we will do other. We've got a dessert auction coming up, the pancake breakfast on the 15th. What we make from that will actually go to Vocal this year. We alternate that with band. So their trip is this year. So the money from last year went to this year's trip. And then we'll plan other events. World Strides also has one where they can send out a letter to people to donate to the trip. Because some people just don't want to buy anything. And they're just like, can we just donate?
Yeah.
And so there's World Strides helps us with all of that too. So, which is why I like to use them.
I'll make a motion to approve item J.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion possible action on approval of board policies as presented.
Okay, the board policies that we need to take a look at are DEFA-R1, which would donated sick leave will not be available until all maternity leave or sick leave that is available to the requesting employee is exhausted. This would not take place until next year because those never go into effect halfway through the year. That's just not good policy. And this came down from OSSBA, which was...
This changes it to where they have to exhaust theirs first?
Yes.
Starting next year.
Yes, starting next year. All right, the next one is one Mr. Ferris requested, and it's the Kingfisher School District Wellness Policy from our TSET discussion last month. Mr. Ferris?
Yes, so Ms. Valderrama, is that correct?
Got it.
Say it right. We've been talking, she looked over and reviewed our wellness policy and saw that some of the wording could be changed and some of it needed to be updated. We're supposed to update it every year, every 3 years. So she was kind enough to look it over and make suggestions, and so we added a few things on the wellness policy. This was all an effort to apply for a TSET grant. And the TSET grant, I was looking at purchasing some social emotional wellness activities through a program called Ripple Effects. It's an online platform that has a laundry list of different topics that you work through. Let's say you could pick something like depression. If a student was having a rough time with depression, they could go through, do the activities, watch the videos, and it is a platform that helps them navigate through that.
And that's about all we have for right now, as far as policy changes.
I make a motion, we approve both policies as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. L, superintendent's report.
Before we get to the principals, got a couple of reports on. I had discussed with you last time about some drainage issues we have out behind the school. Jody Hall has come by. I've looked at them with some independent contractors. One of the issues we have a huge issue we have right now is we have a lot of water coming off this building that's shooting out in pipes that is landing about 3 or 4 foot out away from the building whenever we get a hard rain. And then the same thing is happening on the back of the APB and off the wrestling room and off the Donovan Boutwell Center. That's why we got the water problem that we had. We're going to have to come up with an answer. I think the answer is probably going to be to put some pipe in the ground and move that water somewhere else. We also are catching some water off of the in the new locker room on the southeast corner, and he looked at that as well. He's going to get back with me as we look through this, because there's some grading issues, and digging back there is going to be an interesting experience because of all the lines that we're going to have to make sure we find before we do that. Okie will come do that for us, but that also might give us a better look at where the lines run and the infrastructure in behind that. But it's those junction boxes that cost us $19,000 plus in electricity issues it's in that area between the APD and the high school where that walkway is. The second thing that we've got is we believe Heritage is done. We think we got all the heat all rearranged in that. We got the new, isn't that right?
Yes.
And then we come to the queue, and it only took us putting 4 new pumps in, and having Train come up and reset the computer systems. But so far, it seems to be holding, and we'll know more for sure whenever we get to cooling season, because that's always, you don't want to stay too warm, you don't want to stay too cold. So that's.
We tried them out today, didn't we?
Yeah, they work today.
Yeah. So we've done a lot, and I really want to say Chad Bragg has worked his tail off up here, and I really appreciate the effort that he's gone to, because it's really good to work with him, and he has tried every way in the world to keep the costs down for us. And same thing with Cowboy Fuel. They have really worked well with us, and they've worked hard to try to help us get a fuel system that is lower. And our fuel bills are lower than what they were last year since we've gone to them. So I guess principal's report with Gilmore, we'll start.
So as I said earlier, Mrs. Graham is our Gilmore Site Teacher of the Year. She teaches kindergarten for us, and she has taught in our district for 7 years. And we're so grateful to have her on our team. She's always willing to go above and beyond and step in and help when needed. She serves on some various committees, a couple of which are our Excellence Committee, the Kingfisher Educational Foundation Committee, and we're just so grateful for all the work that she does every day for her students and for our school. We do have our Booster Fund fundraiser coming up. And then Valentine party's coming up, the Lyric Theater this week. All of the elementaries are going to get to go to that at the Heritage Auditorium on Thursday. And then our littles are participating in the mini cheer clinic, so they get to cheer Friday night at the basketball game. So that's it for Gilmore.
Heritage. So, like he said, we are very thankful for our heat. We don't have to have the little heaters anymore, so we're very thankful. We really don't know how thankful we are, because until you haven't had it, you know, it's just it's a blessing. So our teacher of the year is Miss Woods, and she is from Kingfisher. She started out as with AmeriCorps, and then moved into a teacher's aide position and a paraprofessional. This is her 8th year to be a 3rd grade teacher. She is one of the teachers that you can basically ask to do anything. She's a leader, she's a go-getter, she's one of the teachers that is the first one there, the last one to leave. She's just phenomenal, so she is definitely deserving of Teacher of the Year. Like Makayla said, we have Lyric Theater at 10 o'clock on Thursday, and that is always fun for the kiddos, so we'll enjoy that. We also have Boosterthon and Valentine's Day parties, so that's a busy month.
And for the Q, Katie Buckner, our 5th grade science teacher, was our Teacher of the Year. She's got lots of things going on. She is about to have her first baby boy in just the next couple of weeks, and so I met her probably, well, she was one of the first teachers that I met when I came into the district, because she had just found out she was pregnant and was so worried about February and what her plans were going to look like. And so I knew immediately what kind of teacher she was. Her kids absolutely love her. She does fun labs and experiments all the time. She does anything and everything that you could possibly ask of her, and she's a delight to be around. We're going to miss her when she's on maternity leave. Boosterthon coming up as well. This week is National Counselors Week, and so we're also celebrating. We have Lara Koska, my counselor, and then we have Lacey Redwine, who works as a behavioral therapist for the district. So we celebrate them for all the amazing things that they do for our students on a daily basis. A couple of baby showers coming up this week and next. So I've got 2 pregnant teachers in my building, so we're celebrating those things. Our students did AR parties at the beginning of January that met their goals, and so that was exciting for those students. We've got some new goals for them to meet for the rest of the 9 weeks, and so we're hoping that they'll continue to meet those goals.
Okay, the junior high Teacher of the Year is Timmy Winans. He's been here for 3 years. Timmy also coaches high school football and track. Timmy is someone that the other teachers look to for to cheer him up. He's a big personality in this building. We really appreciate everything he does. Also, like Michelle was saying, we are celebrating Counselor Week. Miss Slazicki is the counselor here. I still struggle with that name, but we are celebrating her this week today. We got her a sweatshirt that says Lucky on it. Also, I'd like to recognize Mrs. Buck, our 8th grade science teacher. She organized a kindness week this last week to help kids understand the power of kindness and how a kind word can go a long ways. And so they did a kindness chain. They also had kindness cards that got delivered to different students as well as teachers. I got a couple kindness cards from students, so I really appreciate her efforts. She also had dress-up days with kindness themes, so really appreciate her. A couple things. Basketball, girls basketball, Seventh grade girls placed third in the mini wheat belt tournament. Eighth grade girls got the consolation at the Blanchard tournament. Boys, seventh grade boys got consolation at Chisholm tournament, and the eighth grade boys got the consolation at the Blanchard tournament. Also for band, we had 22 junior high and high school students who earned a chair in all area honor band. We had 12 junior high and high school students earn a chair in the red carpet honor band. This is the most we've ever had in 10 years. So we appreciate those students in our band program. Also, Ms. Owens wants me to let you know there's going to be a pancake breakfast Saturday the 15th, 7 to 12:30. That is it.
At the high school, we celebrated Miss Swart today. That was our Teacher of the Year. She does biology and it's a mixture of our upper level sciences. She's only been here a year and a half, but she's just really been a rock star, and especially this year filled in the voids and taken a lot of burden with the science department kind of being shorthanded, just making that still run. And as mentioned earlier, you know, the VR headsets and things like that, just doing a lot of cool stuff with our kids. Being a science guy myself, I really appreciate what she's doing for our kiddos. I'd also like to give a shout out to Karina Ponce. She represented us and the entire state of Oklahoma in Phoenix at the Southwest Conference of Language Teaching. This was a pretty big deal to get selected to do that. And I actually had a mutual teaching friend reach out and just say how awesome she did. She spoke up there at that conference, how good she did and how proud they were of her representing us. And then a couple fun things we've done this month. One is we got to kind of honor Dr. Johnson and sneak one in on him. Just had a lot of people there, so it was really nice, you know, still being kind of a newbie to Kingfisher. I hear a lot of people say a lot of kind things about Dr. Johnson and just his years of service with our kiddos. I'd also like to give Mr. Evans kind of gave a shout out to Mr. Blundell, but Stan has really helped a lot and been really big time in helping our athletics run smoothly, and just picked up a lot of slack for myself, but for our other coaches as well. And then over at the Yellow Jacket Academy, we've had 2 students graduate early, just right, one before Christmas, one right after Christmas, finishing what they needed to graduate. Girls basketball has had 2 tournaments since the last board meeting, and they won both of them. And boys basketball in those same 2 tournaments won the consolation side up at Enid, and we were runner-up in the Buckle tournament here. So.
Yeah, lots of good things.
In proposed executive session to discuss the employment and compensation of the following positions for the 2025-2026 school year, the disclosure of which discussion would violate confidentiality requirements of state or federal laws authorized by 25 OS 307B1 employment. And then 4, telephonic consultation with legal counsel from the Center of Ed Law.
You don't have to read all those.
Okay.
No, I don't want to see you go into pain there.
I so move.
I'll second.
Item N, discussion, possible action of recommendation for employment for fiscal year 2025-2026.
I'd like to recommend Michaela Tollefson, Lisa Meyer, Michelle Jones, Chris Ferris, Melissa Slazicki, and Colby Connell to the positions as listed.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. O, discussion, possible action, and a recommendation for employment for the fiscal year 2025-2026 and application of job descriptions to fiscal year 2024-2025 employment.
I'd like to recommend Don Tollefson, Pam Warner, and Heather Mercer in the business office for the roles as indicated.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Discussion, possible action on a recommendation for the employment of the following positions for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year.
I'd like to recommend Cynthia Napsky and Cheyenne Holland for paraprofessional positions at Gilmore.
So moved.
Make a motion. Go.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. New business,
I have none at this time.
announcements,
I have none at this time.
yes.
I make a motion, we adjourn at 9:23.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion passes.